What's up, boba gang? How y'all doing? So for tonight, we're going to dedicate this video more towards the espresso lovers out there and see how that kind of works with the boba tea realm. So for this one, we're going to do a product review on a espresso machine. So this one's not going to go in depth as, let's say, our more, affluent espresso lovers out there. It's not going to be as detailed or as integral as, say, the reviews that James Hoffman does, Morgan Egginton, Lance Hendrickson. It's a little bit more of a kind of like step down. Well, if I'm going to be honest, I'm probably like a few levels below that. But, it's all good. I just degrade myself sometimes. I am kidding. Make sure you always have self-esteem. We'll be looking at a specific product called the Flair 58 Plus. If you haven't heard about Flair, don't worry, we'll dive briefly into them, okay? And for the most part, this video is going to be centered around those who want to introduce espresso machines into their boba tea workflow. The abridged version is, if you don't have an espresso machine, get it. If you have a boba tea shop and you don't have an espresso machine, get it. If you have a boba tea shop and you already have an espresso machine, you could probably pass off on this one. Or if you do like a bunch of farmers market events, festivals, and all that, this could potentially work out in your favor there. So prior to getting the espresso maker, I dabbled in a lot of different ways to brew coffee. I done pour over, the cafe theme. I done, of course, the drip coffee, which I still hate, by the way, but that's one of the ways I've done it. I've also done the Vienna coffee maker where it has a little glass and just kind of siphons upward. So yeah, and one of my most favorite way to make coffee, especially for these past, 7 years or so, will be the mocha pot. So I was originally introduced to the mocha pot back when I was living in New Jersey, and my friend had an electric mocha pot. And for that one, just kind of like drawn me into like the world of coffee. And because during that time I just was drinking drip coffee and it was, disgusting. It was horrendous. And then I got introduced to the mocha pot. So honestly, the mocha pot was one of my favorite ways of making coffee. So when I opened up shop, I didn't really have much space or money to be able to have an actual espresso machine. As you know, like a lot of these commercial espresso machines, they are huge, they are humongous, they are large and really expensive. And during the time since I was doing more of a startup kind of vibe where, just do the MVP of it and just kind of build upwards, that was one of the ones where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do an espresso machine. I'll just wait on that one for now because I don't even know if people even will gravitate towards my brand. Although I installed a line where I could install an espresso maker or whatever I want to do, it just wasn't feasible given the amount of space that you'll need for the espresso maker. And of course, you cannot forget, when you have an espresso maker, you have to have a grinder. And the grinder definitely could cost like $300. Commercial ones could definitely cost in the thousands. So for the longest time, the way we basically made coffee here is that we just did cold brew style because a lot of our drinks was cold brew based. So it just made sense to just continue doing that way. Cold brew coffee with cold drinks, it just made sense for us. So fast forward for a few years, I really want to offer espresso in some of our drinks. So maybe, just like nice shot of espresso and like, let's say our horchata or our Thai tea, maybe a taro. It's just one of those things that I thought would be a great thing. And that's why I came across Flair 58 Plus. So brief history about Flair. It was started back in 2016. It was on the Kickstarter and it got funded. And the original Flair that they had was a nice little pod. Now that for us, the little pod thing only really works if you're doing it for, like at home usage, but not for a boba tea cafe. Or if we were to go out to a festival. It would just be a little cumbersome trying to do it with a little pod because for that one, like I looked at different workflows and just didn't really quite work out for me. Now, a few years later, they launched the Flair 58. The original design of it was nice and smooth. You see the gorgeous matte finish that they have on there with the walnut lever. And then a few months after that, they redesigned the already top of the line machine and made it even better. And that's how we have the Flair 58 Plus. All right, so that's enough about that. Let's go check out the machine. So over here is our makeshift coffee station. So we basically have the Flair 58 here. We have some of the little cups over here and our milk frothers along with our tampers and the grinder. So with the Flair 58, what you'll get obviously will be the machine itself. You'll get this drip tray. the mirror so you can check out the espresso shot, your pressure gauge to make sure you're not over pressurizing it, the original tamper there, the portafilter, the puck screen, and the flow basket. I don't know where to insert it in the video, so I got just interrupt it real quick and just say I named the Flair 58 Plus Flair Yan. I just had to share it. All right, now let's get back to the video. If you never made espresso in the past, there's definitely something that you have to get used to and understand the science and the art behind pressing each and every shot back to back to back to back. So the Flair 58 Plus is pretty simple to use. All you have to do is just turn on the power, make sure the chamber reaches the temperature it needs, pour the hot water. So the Flair 58, one thing I really like about it is that it's very simple to use. It's just literally pouring the hot water in here, lifting this up, pour more water in, and just squeeze it out. That's as simple as it gets. Now then, of course, there's a lot more science and art that goes behind pulling shots of espresso. So you'll definitely be learning a lot while using this one. So one thing that we pretty much use this Flair 58 for is really to make add-ons for a lot of our existing drinks. Earlier, I mentioned like the horchata. Other ones would be like our brown sugar milk tea. Other ones would be taro. It just opens up a little bit more options for us to just throw on the tack onto our existing menu. So with the Flair 58, one thing that you get that, I don't know, I kind of feel like it's useful only when you're doing like multiple shots back to back to back, but maybe not so much if you're just doing one shot by itself. I'm not saying it's not useful, period. Just saying, you know, maybe it's not a necessity for some folks, and that'll be the little temperature control that you have on here. There's 3 levels that you can have on there for 3 different beans that you have in there. So that's enough talk. Let's see this baby in action. One thing I want to mention that I feel like I shouldn't have to mention is that make sure you have a scale that's able to weigh every single grams. So for me, we just have the scale right here that we've been using for, you know, a couple of years now. Is it the best? No. Does it get the job done? Yes, definitely. Of course, one of the first things you want to do is clear out the scale. For tonight's coffee, we'll be using an American brand called Hello M. It's basically a Vietnamese owned company that is basically inspired by Vietnamese coffee. So for this one is just whole beans coffee. It's going to be medium dark roast, and it's going to be with the Vietnamese style Robusta beans. And of course, this one says it's good for portafilters. So yeah, so this is what we're going to be using for tonight. Just look at those beans. Oh my goodness. Pour in here. So the original tamper that they give you would be this one. Honestly, I never really like these tampers just because they don't give the right even areas on here. So when you're in a, you know, in a rush and you have a lot of coffees to do back to back to back, I would honestly prefer using a self-leveling tamper. And that's when I picked this one up. So yeah, this one is a brand called Me Coffee. I'm sure you'll probably be able to find plenty of other versions of this one online. I know Normal Core has one. All right, now throw on that puck. Oh, oops. I'm gonna grab my cup now and throw it right below it, just my angle so I can see a clear shot. And let's go ahead and work on this baby. Right now I'm working on making sure I get between 6 to 9 pressure for about 30 seconds or so. And boom, our first shot of espresso. It's not the best I've been able to do, but it's still working hard. When you mix this in with other, you know, drinks, it definitely kind of blends in well and it won't be like a bitter dark taste. So that's very lucky. Now then, if I was to do actual, you know, regular coffee drinks, who knows how that would become. So I specifically picked this model because, you know, look at the reviews, this is probably the best one that would be good for bubble tea shops where you just need to do back-to-back shots. If you have 10, 20 people, this one's supposed to be able to keep up with all those like cups that, you know, are in demand for getting shots of espresso in their boba. Now then, to be clear, I haven't got a chance to do 10 shots in a row. I'm more certain that this will be able to keep up with all the shots. I mean, it's pretty sturdy build. I love the metal structure of this with the like rubber, kind of like this rubber silicone thing to keep the drinks to keep the water warm. So honestly, I feel like this would hold up pretty well if I had to do 10 shots back to back, and I could probably use this over 200 times. Hey, future Brandon here. So I think I accidentally deleted the video, my bad. But basically, the recommendation is this. If you're getting this espresso maker, the Flair 58, for your home, that's probably fine. It's a great addition especially if you don't have the space for it. It's very small and compact. It's much smaller than any of the commercial or pro consumer or even just a regular consumer brand espresso makers out there. So I think it'll be perfectly fine with that one. If you're looking to add this into your at-home boba cafe, I think this will also be a great addition. Now that it's whether or not you really think you need an espresso maker at home for your boba shop. So if you're like sticking more towards the fruitier side or some of the more classic milk tea items, then maybe you'll need the espresso maker for that. You could definitely get away with it with the mug pot, as I mentioned before. That's my favorite way. And of course, there's always like pour over and French press and stuff like that. For my boba tea shops out there, is the Flair 58 perfect for your shop? I'll give you two criteria. One is if you really don't have much space in your shop to add any coffee items, and two, if you think your customers really want something along the lines of just adding a shot to a drink or trying to create actual full-on coffee menu. If you want a full-on coffee menu, that might be a different recommendation I will go. And I'll probably go with one of the more legacy companies that are out there, even though, with the legacy companies, since they all been around for 100 years, the products are great. However, since they are legacy companies, there's probably not going to be too much customer support. Some of them are great, some of them are, you know how they are. So yeah, so if you think that it's going to be more geared towards like, oh, this is just a nice thing to add on, that'd be great. Now then, if you're a person that's looking to do this at a farmer's market or a festival, if you're doing this solely as, let's say, a coffee with add-on to something else, it could be fine. It's just know that when you set this machine up, it's a easy setup. But it still just takes a while to set up. It's not easy. Bloop bloop bloop. You're done. It's gonna be one of the things where it's like, all right, you're setting everything up. Can you get this thing done in time? So that way you're not like scrambling towards trying to get this thing set up while you're getting the rest of your tent set up or the rest of your booth. But I think it'll be a pretty good addition if you're able to get it down. Maybe not for a huge festival you're looking to do just this coffee thing. Perhaps if you do this to coincide with your other drinks, it could work. But it's whether or not you have enough staff members, because I think that if you're trying to do this one along with a blended drink and maybe shaking some drinks or whatever it may be, it would take a lot of time and energy. So I would say for the festivals, maybe not. For a farmers market, if you got the energy for that one. So, and of course, pop-up events would also be fine. That would be a nice little attention drawer. So yeah. So what do y'all think? Would y'all get the Flair 58? Have you used it before? And what do you think of it?